Aloha Namaste. This is Kapypacha with the weekly Pele report. Ow! September 8th, 2015. What is going on? Well, right now today we've got the moon in Leo. Friday she moves into Virgo. Just in time for the eclipse. On Saturday we have a partial solar eclipse happening. You won't be able to see it unless you're way down south near the Antarctic. But it's there, nonetheless. We are officially entering the eclipse season. I'm up here in the great far north of Vancouver, on the river. And it's very appropriate that, you know, this eclipse is happening at 20 degrees of Virgo. And it's just, you know, the north node of the moon is still in Libra, so that's why it is not exact. A couple of weeks from now, we're going to have that lunar eclipse, and that's going to be total. It's a little more on the nodal axis. But this is this new moon happening. This eclipse is a very powerful beginning, okay, in the sign of Virgo. And that's why I'm down here on the beach, on the river, watching the tugboat go by, because Virgo is the worker. And here we are working, and we still got this Venus-Mars conjunction traveling through Leo. Venus turned direct, and she's just catching up to Mars. She'll be catching up to her for sure by November 3rd. Traveling through Leo, the creative energy and playful ideas, and then it jumps into Virgo. And if you want to make that omelet, you got to break some eggs. If you want to build that house, you got to cut down some trees and get some wood. And that's why I'm down here watching the lumber go by, baby. Woo! So today Mars is trine that Uranus. Yeah, and Uranus is still in a trine to Venus. Thursday, the moon conjoins with both Venus and Mars. And then, you know, she moves into that Virgo for the eclipse on Saturday. Sunday, she goes into Libra. Yeah, and on Wednesday, goes into Scorpio. So in the meantime, we've got that Mercury up there in Libra, squaring Pluto, Mars, and this beautiful trine with Uranus. So let me find a little spot to sit down here, talk at you about what all that means. Enough of that astrology stuff. All right, here we go. I'll find some spot here. Okay. I think I found a spot. Hope it's not too windy here and you guys can hear me and everything out there. Ahoy, matey. I'm a little nervous because I want to do the perfect Pele report. This is Virgo. Sun in Virgo, Jupiter in Virgo. Eclipse coming around to Virgo. What I did not even mention was that what? Well, we've got Chiron. Almost exactly opposite, you know, like 1 degree away. Opposite this eclipse happening here, over there in Pisces. Yeah, the ocean, the sailor. So, you know, this dynamic that's happening here is a lot on the Pisces-Virgo axis, which of course is square the Gemini-Sagittarius axis. And so we really want to look at this. This is a long-term transition that we're going through, a healing process of this Chiron in Pisces from 2011 to 2018. And we're all kind of doing this dive down in. Chiron is the co-ruler of the underworld. And we've got Venus that just went retrograde, and she's just kind of now ascending out of the underworld. Yes, she's visible in the sky along with Mars in the morning if you've gotten up early enough to see it. Absolutely beautiful. But she's not going to return back to that 0 degrees of Virgo where she's stationed for another couple weeks. And so she's kind of ascending. And we just had this black moon Lilith who's still conjunct the north node of the moon. And she also is this energy of Kundalini that's related to Pluto and Scorpio and the root chakra and this deep, dark, down underworld. And now we have the moon coming around to block the sun right by the north node of the moon. And then after the eclipse, the moon's going to move on. And this weekend, you know, she's going to be, you know, right there. And what we know, this is a north node eclipse. It's different than a south node eclipse. And we know that a planet is always strongest at its north node. So we know that when the moon comes around and we have a north node solar eclipse, it's a time where the past, where the emotion, where the feelings want to come up. So here we have this feminine Venus emerging from the underworld, and we have this powerful feminine energy, black moon Lilith, conjunct the north node of the moon. And now we've got the moon herself coming in to block the sun. It's like, ah! How much emotion can I take? How many memories can I take? How many new feelings can I take? It's like, whoa! And all the time, this Chiron is opposite, kind of watching from deep space, you know, out there. And it's like, okay, you know, what's going to be the result? This is like really, you know, this is an opportunity for healing. And what is healing? I mean, if you consider really, the source of all pain and suffering is separation. We incarnate into this physical body, into this third-dimensional reality from our infinite spirit self that's connected, you know, with the collective unconscious and with all that is. And we come into our ego state of separation where we have to deal with work and survival and paying the bills and making it through the day and taking care of these physical bodies so we don't suffer and die and everything else. And it gets way more complicated as we move into separation. And so this can really feel sometimes, and Virgo really knows about this, like I'm being punished. You know, like I did something wrong because I separated and I'm not feeling this union and this, you know, it's like I have to put forth effort. And Pisces and the infinite spirit doesn't have to put forth any effort, just kind of wants it to all happen magically. So we're like all kind of dealing with this idea, you know, with this Venus, Mars, and Leo. It's like, great, creation, new idea, new dance, new song, let's do a festival, you know. Well, what does all that take? Frickin' work. You don't just like snap your fingers and you've got a sound system and you've got your artists and you've got your schedule and you've got your tickets sold and blah, 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 blah. You know, you want to do a festival, you want to have some fun. You know what? You know, it's like immediately followed by the details. And this is Virgo, you know. And we want to do it right. And we want to get just the right people and just the right this and just the right that. And the schedule's got to be clear and da-da-da-da-da-da-da, you know. And so it's like we can like, you know, just like kind of get overwhelmed, and this Neptune in Pisces and Chiron in Pisces can just like kind of get overwhelmed with the amount of effort and the amount of work. And then this, you know, moon comes up and all these feelings come up, you know, and these memories come up of, you know, how it didn't work or what failed or what wasn't perfect or what didn't meet the standards, or what's not good enough, or what's missing. And we start seeing that the glass is half empty, and we forget that it's half full. And we can kind of get into a little bit of a reflection, and sometimes that reflection leads to some depression, especially when the lawnmower comes along in the middle of the Pele report. And you know, you have undisturbed wilderness. That's Pisces. The forest, the jungle, you know, the ocean, clean, pure, nothing going on. And then it's like, you know, you come in and yeah, somebody's cutting down the trees, somebody's cutting the lawn, and you got these, you know, signs put up, and pretty soon you've got a frickin' mess. And this happens with our emotional lives. This happens with our past and with our memories. It's like I remember this mess, or it's like, so, you know, this new moon involves cleaning up our messes. Yeah, it involves discernment. This is the high part of Virgo. Discrimination and discernment. What needs to stay and what needs to grow, and what needs to get out of the way of that growth, what needs to be purged, released, and gotten rid of. I mean, Virgo to me is I associate it with the matriarchy. I associate it with the powerful Gaia energy that is absolutely perfect and beautiful. And I think of the indigenous peoples, where before they cut down a tree, you know, they held that tree, they asked permission of that tree, they thanked that tree, and then they cut it down. You know, when they killed a buffalo, they used every last bit and piece and part of that buffalo, you know, and just like, you know, really honored the process and left the pristine, beautiful environments as they were, not leaving a footprint behind. It's not exactly happening. I'm here in Vancouver, the city. It's not always happening here these days the way that it used to. And so part of this new paradigm can also be just like this feeling, and it's like the feminine. What's the feminine? It's Gaia. And you know, and Gaia is the water and the earth. And we've been in this patriarchal, male-dominated, you know, thousands of years, you know, of the fire and the air. The fire and the air is, you know, astrology. That's the masculine. Kind of like controlling, dominating, using, in some cases wasting the feminine. So we may just like really tap into, and a lot of you, you know, that are really sensitive, you know, can really be tapping into the sorrow and the grief of the feminine, of how she has been exploited, of how she has been used. And we can take it personally, or we can feel it personally, and it can really kind of go deep, and we can have a grieving process, and we can be dealing with sorrow, you know, coming up from the past, and coming up from, you know, all of the chaos and all of the challenges that we have, you know, really not necessarily done the right thing, said the right thing, left no trace, maybe impacted other people in a negative way, in a challenging way, how we have really kind of harmed and not honored our physical body as a temple of the divine feminine. And so we can have regrets and sorrow. And this place of regret, we can get lost in it, and we can get kind of pulled down into it. But you know, it's like, you know, going down into it, this is where you get forgiveness. This is where you get compassion. This is where you know, really come into a deeper understanding of what it means to be human, and of how to evolve and how to grow within. So it's like really strengthening if you see that's all is process, and this is all education. And this Virgo is ruled by Mercury, which is the student. This is really a time. It's a new beginning. It's a new cycle. This solar eclipse starts, you know, a new 6-month cycle. And it's a healing cycle. And you can't heal something that you don't recognize. So we're kind of in the beginning of the age of Aquarius. We're in the beginning of the new paradigm. And part of that is just diagnosis. We need to diagnose the patient. It can be ourself, but it can also be our partnerships, it can be our heart, it can be the world at large. Yeah? And it's like, you know, what I want to create, is it good for everybody? You know, and is my play, you know, like really impacting the universe in a positive way, or is it just my own selfish play? And I just want like all the attention and all this and that and the other thing, and you know, when the show is done, there's going to be, you know, cans and litter and bottles and broken glass all over the place, you know, but I had a good show. You know, so it's like, you know, the more Leo, this Venus, Mars and Leo, can keep in mind, right, you know, the Virgo that's coming. You know, it's like the sweeper that has to clean up after the show, you know? So we want to make our show, you know, really conscious so that there's not so much to clean up. And so now what we're seeing, you know, maybe is some of the messes that we made where, you know what, our show, you know, left a mess behind. And the important thing is just like, you know, not to beat ourselves up too bad, and not to go into depression, and not go into regret, and not go into blaming and guilt and, you know, but just like, you know, hold the head high, do the diagnosis, knowing that there's medicine, yeah? And knowing that our knowledge and our compassion and our love is the medicine. And that so much of this separation is just like an ego process, that we go down just like the sun goes down to midnight and then it rises again, and we're going to be rising again. And that's what like all this is about. The sun and the moon are both going to like move out of Virgo into Libra, and the new cycle is going to begin, and it's going to like really be powerful like a couple weeks from now with that full moon lunar eclipse in Aries. Different story. You can know, okay, that like now is kind of a time of diagnosis, because you know what, there's going to be some like new action, yeah, and there's going to be new impulses, and there's a dawn of a new daylight coming like really fast and really swift and really quick, and we're going to really be doing some kicking some butt coming up, yeah. So it's time to clean up our acts, set the stage, yeah, for doing it in a new way, a more wholesome, holy, sacred way, and prepare for that ceremony. Do that ceremony and really connect and listen to the spirits, yeah, listen to Lilith, the nature spirits, and invite them into the show, invite them into the ceremony, so that we're not just like out there in our own little bubble of illusion, but Virgo really helps us see, yeah, what's real, tangible, physical, and it's going to bring results. So it's a real time of self-analysis, self-awareness, leading to, right, you know, this powerful vision of how to best be in harmony with nature, with our bodies, with the masculine and the feminine, so that our creations are totally awesome. So the mantra for this week, yeah, is I love that life is a mystery. The more I begin to see her slowly revealing her secrets and showing myself to me. The mystery is the Neptune Chiron in Pisces, the dream, the fantasy, the infinite potential. And it comes down into effort and into work and into service in Virgo. And through that process, we see, yeah, what really is and what's really possible and what we really need to do. And we come out of the fantasy into the reality. And sometimes it's disturbing, but ultimately, and astrology deals with ultimates, ultimately it's going to be awesome, and it's going to be better as a result, because we're going to know ourselves more, we're going to know our limitations, we're going to know our strengths, We're going to know who to hang with and who not to be hanging with. We're going to know what to eat and what not to eat. And it's like, yeah, it's all like, we're all on the upgrade, man. And Virgo wants to upgrade. So we can love that life is a mystery. The more I begin to see how she slowly reveals her secrets and shows myself to me. Namaste, aloha, so much love.